So you're a homeowner and you're thinking about selling one of your properties. Well, you can have a residential property, you can have an investment property, you can have a sixplex, whatever property that is, you want to avoid some mistakes. And so in this video, I've got 6 mistakes that sellers make, and I want to help you avoid those mistakes. I want to ensure that you have the best possible light in front of you, you get top dollar for your market, you make the best impression, and that you avoid those things that other sellers might make. So let's get into the video. And if we've never met, my name is Anita Cordell. I'm a licensed real estate agent, and I make videos about Kansas City and beyond. So if you are getting this video and you are not in Kansas City, you're still going to learn a lot of stuff, because I'm just going to be covering the main mistakes that sellers make. But if you aren't in Kansas City, also to realize that I have a network of top agents all across the country, even into Canada and some other countries. I mastermind and network with them. And so if you are considering selling your home and you want to watch this video to get the mistakes, but you also need an agent in your area, be sure and reach out, because I can get a hold of some great agents all across the country in all kinds of markets. Also, I'm going to give you a personal invitation to comment below. If you have any questions about your home ownership or your selling or any tips that you're needing, be sure and put down in the comments below, because what happens when you comment on my videos, this actually will help other viewers when they come in and see your comments. It actually helps them to understand maybe there's something that you've experienced in home ownership that would be a good thing for someone else to read. Also, in the description below of this video is my contact information, so be sure and reach out to that. There's also a calendar link. It will go right to my calendar, right to my schedule, and we can schedule a time for us to talk and go through any of your real estate goals. So let's get into these top 6 mistakes from my experience that I have encountered all across the board when helping sellers sell their home. The first mistake is huge, and the reason why it's so big is it is often ignored. Believe it or not, this will cause a high probability for people to come in and lowball you, if you've heard that term before. We can put all of our dollars into marketing, but if this one mistake is ignored, then it can really affect your probability of getting the price that you want. Now, this mistake is when seller overlooks home repairs and home maintenance. Buyers will know this. When we go into a house and I'm with a buyer, we walk through the house, and buyers often will notice things about a property that a seller has chosen not to do. They will notice that. So the big question that I have for you as a homeowner is, why are you noticing it? Or if you notice it, why would you not do something about it? So why not address it? Sometimes we live in a property for so long that our minds just kind of shut down when it comes to home maintenance. It's normal. So the best way to know what those home maintenance and home repairs need to be is to do what I call a pre-listing inspection. Now, oftentimes I get the question of, well, isn't an inspection paid for by the buyer when they get under contract? Yes. For the most part, the way I instruct my sellers to do is to do what's called a pre-listing inspection. That means you will hire a home inspection to come into your home and go ahead and do an inspection just like what a buyer would do, but you do it before I list your home. The reason why is because you as a seller should always know the health of your home. You should know what is going on with your home, what home repairs need to be done, and the only way to do that is to either be an inspector yourself or hire an inspector to come out. I have several different inspectors that have been vetted out here in Kansas City. They've been vetted out. They give detailed reports, also answer questions, so if you hire one of them and they're walking through your property and are doing inspections, they will answer questions for you right then. It'll just be an overall better experience. So feel free to reach out if you want this list of the Kansas City inspectors that I have already been vetting. So you'll want to do this pre-listing inspection in enough time for you to actually do the repairs. So oftentimes I will get calls and a seller will say, well, when can you get it up on the market? Well, I can get a house up on the market super fast. The better question is, when can you get the property up online to its full potential? You'll want to do it early enough to where that it'll give you a good month or so to do all of the repairs and take advantage advantage of that time frame, and that way you're giving the buyer a full report of what the health of your home is. And oftentimes what I've seen is the buyer will sometimes actually use that report, and they'll say, okay, well, this report's great, you've done these repairs, I might do a minimal report. And then sometimes they might come in and do their own inspection and find that what you have repaired is exactly what that inspector addressed as well. It's just very important to do this. I'm so passionate about this subject that I've actually done a whole video on why a pre-listing inspection is important. So I'm just covering the highlights here and just talking about the mistakes, but there's a whole other video there, and if you need that, be sure and let me know. The second mistake that a seller can make when they're listing their home is mispricing their property. I'll be honest with you, I've been helping buyers and sellers since 2001, and this by far is one of the most common pitfalls that a seller can make. It is crucial for a seller to understand the market. Are we in a buyer's market? Are we in a seller's market? Are we in a balanced market? And a real estate agent will be able to help you determine what kind of market it is in. A very common question that I get is, wouldn't it be okay if we put it up on the market high? Can't a buyer just negotiate? Well, it depends on your market. I'll be honest with you, the DNA here is a whole lot different than the DNA in another market like New York or California or whatever. I mean, if you go to New York, you're seeing people negotiate purses on the sidewalk. Here in Kansas City, they don't. We go to the store, we buy what it is, and that's it. Our DNA isn't necessarily to do a lot of negotiating. And so what happens here in this market is that somebody will put it up on the market and it's going to fall into a certain price range. Okay, so if I have a buyer and they say, Anita, I want to buy from $500,000 to $700,000, and these are the parameters that I want. And then there's this property that is falling into their price point, but it really should be priced at $450, it's going to fall into that price point that they're in, and that buyer's going to immediately know that your property is overpriced. They're going to immediately know because they've been scouring the internet, they've been looking at my MLS portal. So when your property pops up into their price point, they're going to go, why is this house in this portal? And then what happens is they won't even want to go look at it. Then what happens is the property will sit on the market for a really long time, and then the seller will then have to drop it. And when that happens, you're leaving money on the table. Let me help you with pricing your home effectively. Don't be that seller who makes the mistake of mispricing their home. The third mistake that I see sellers making is not staging property. I don't prefer to put houses that are vacant up on the market. In fact, I recently put a property on the market. The sellers had already moved out and moved all of their belongings out, and I offered to help stage it. So I came in, I put all the staging up. We staged for the most part, most of the rooms, and we got an offer. The offer was actually over the asking price. When we got all said and done, I had several agents complimenting me on making the staging, but the seller then came back to me and said, Anita, we got the offer that we got. It was on the cusp of being just a little bit overpriced, but it wasn't there yet. And he came back and said, Anita, the reason why I believe it sold, one, for over the list price, and two, so quickly is because of your staging. All of it can help with the atmosphere and showcasing your home to its full potential. One huge part of all of this is your painting. Now, I'm not just talking about getting a fresh coat of paint on any color. I'm also talking about the importance of color. I have some favorite colors that I like to use when I'm staging. So if you want to reach out and ask me what those favorite colors are, certainly feel free. But giving a fresh coat of paint is important. The other thing is get rid of the blue bathrooms. Guys, just neutralize everything, making sure that there's a fresh coat of paint and making sure that your paint colors are in line with something more neutral. It makes it really, really hard when a buyer comes into your house and they see this big full wall of all of your family members all across the whole living room, and they can't come in and visualize themselves living there. So you have to actually depersonalize your home. You have to take down all of those things, make sure that it gives an atmosphere of neutrality, if that's even a word, and giving that buyer a fair chance at letting them visualize themselves in your home. Okay, another part about it, and speaking of belongings, you've got to declutter. I know that that word sounds really, really negative, but it's super, super important. Sellers make the mistake of just not really allowing themselves to focus on that part of the staging. So this means having minimal items on kitchen counters. I usually don't like any more than 5 on the kitchen counters. Get rid of that junk pile, hide it, and obviously minimizing the decor if you can. And this is where I come in. I can come in and help with the minimization of it. I can bring my inventory in to help with pieces of, helping utilize your things and complementing your things with my things. And lastly, when it comes to staging, I'm not just talking about like a nice dust job that we do, on a regular basis in our home. I am actually talking about a deep clean. That is so a part of staging, in my opinion. We're talking about behind things too, like clean out behind the dryer, clean out behind the refrigerator, clean inside the stove. If you need to, hire somebody to come in and do a deep clean. It is so needed. You might want to consider is a good duct cleaning. A lot of times people forget that, but once you finish with all of this and once you complete all of it, you're gonna feel a whole lot better, and it's only going to provide a buyer with a really good atmosphere for your home. So reach out, let me know if there's anything I can do to help with providing paint colors, giving staging tips. First impressions matter. The fourth mistake that a seller makes is ignoring curb appeal. Like I said just a second ago, first impressions matter. They are so important. In fact, this is another video that I did. I just did another whole video of tons of ways that you can improve your curb appeal. So go watch that video as well. Just like there is value on the inside of the home, there's actually value on the outside of the home. If you watch my whole entire video, it includes things like power washing and painting and cleaning and doing simple things that you can do to increase the facelift of your home, including what you can do on your front door, or what you can do to your address numbers. There's all kinds of ideas in this video. So be sure and watch that video. We go into a deep dive about curb appeal and all the different ways that you can do to improve your property. And a lot of those things aren't that expensive. So increasing your curb appeal can actually put more money into your pocket. It gives a buyer that moment of just awe when they pull up to a home. Your home needs to start selling itself. The moment that a buyer goes down your street is really when your property starts to sell itself. Don't be that seller who makes the mistake of ignoring their curb appeal. The fifth mistake that a seller can make when they're selling their home is not detaching themselves emotionally to the home. What I always tell my sellers is no matter what the reason is for selling, it's so important to start detaching yourself emotionally, because if you can do that, you can become more realistic when it comes to looking at offers and talking to things that buyers might want to change. You're not so emotionally attached to the property. Now, this does not mean that you didn't have wonderful memories in your home, but when a new buyer comes into your property, they're not going to know about the special memories that you made. They're not going to know about the family gatherings around your Thanksgiving table. They're not going to know about all of the things that you went through as a family. And so for them to come in, be emotionally attached to your home is unrealistic. Obviously, if you sell it to a family member, that's one thing, but most people don't sell their homes to a family member. So I always coach my sellers and give them advice to detach it. But then we start to transition into selling it. I oftentimes will ask my sellers, would it be possible for you to now not just look at this as your home, but to start to look at it as a house? When you start to do that and change the terminology, your mind starts to change, and it helps to start to detach all of the emotions to the property. Another thing is that it will actually help you in negotiations. When you get that contract and they come in and it might not necessarily be the exact price that you want, it's going to help you be more realistic, especially when an agent comes in and tells you, we've got to adjust and we've got to pivot to what the market is doing right now. It's going to just overall help you. So don't be that seller who makes the mistake of holding firm to their emotions and making challenges when negotiations come later on down the road. Don't be that seller. And the sixth mistake that sellers make when they are putting their house up on the market is not hiring a full-time agent. The value of a full-time agent is so easy to explain. They've got their marketing set in place. They have a mode of constant learning. There's a huge network of people. Like, for instance, I mastermind with agents all across the country and into Canada and other countries as well, like Israel and Portugal. We mastermind almost every single day, learning what the scope is and what the pulse is of our industry and what not to do and what to do and how to help our clients and giving tips on transactions. That is what a full-time agent does. They're surrounding themselves with people who will help them learn and grow in the industry. Now, I'm not saying that a part-time agent can't do that. In fact, there are a lot of part-time agents that are trying to be full-time. So don't discount necessarily that. I'm just using the full-time terminology of that, or those who are aspiring to be full-time. Overall, a full-time agent is going to help you better your property and its full potential in the long run. Also, a full-time agent is a way better negotiator because they've learned it. They are around people who are teaching them how to be a better negotiator. They have time to take classes on how to be a better negotiator. There's just an overall value add there. The other thing I also ask people is, you might hire a part-time attorney. You might hire a part-time dentist. You might hire a part-time plumber. That is okay. And if you choose to do that, that's fine too. But my experience is that full-time agents will provide more value than someone who is part-time and just dibbling in it. Rest assured, I am full-time. I mastermind with people all the time. And I also have multiple assistants who help me with my marketing, who help me with this YouTube channel, who help me do things to actually get more creative and get more marketing out there and get more exposure, and ultimately will help you in the long run. So give me a call if you want to reach out to me and talk to me about my proven marketing plan, and we will get going. I hope this video was helpful to you, and I hope you learned a few things that I think mistakes are made when a seller is trying to sell their home. I hope it gives you some great information. And as always, to buy or sell, call Anita Cordell. My contact information again is below, so be sure and reach out to me. And as always, go out there and live your best Kansas City life.